You can't shut them up during the break. You see, all over the music and everything. We're back for part two. And I hope I haven't lost any of you out there. Hope you don't think I'm shilling for the powers that be and giving them cover and try to say they're the good guys. No, 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 not at all. I'm just offering us another way of looking at things, but it goes weirder and wackier than this. So if you're just joining us, welcome to Freaky Friday. Remember, stay tuned right after today's show because Brent Thomas will take you through the paranormal portal. We've got Naysay here, we've got Jimmy, and we're going out on the home of Freaky Friday, TFR Live. Big shout out to everyone in the Wookiee Cave, everyone on the website, everyone on TalkStream Live, and everyone on Paranormal Radio app. And I was getting into this weird and wonderful idea for a book where you've got simulations running and they're trying to predict the future. And say back in the early 2000s, with computer power not being what it is today, and with the amount of data being fractional compared to what's going into quantum computers today, they might have got a rough guesstimation of big events coming down, maybe a month away, 6 months away. And perhaps, via, I've got it written down here, they could use like anonymous tips. They could have informants. They could do whatever way they want to give it to genuine, like people in police departments or intelligence agencies, security services that react to this kind of thing. And it only really takes a couple of individuals because when I was in the army, when we done drills, where did they come from? Like, yeah, we had a list like you're going on exercise here, there. But why those dates and who really picks them? So it's only really a small group of people that really need to know, even when you're organising drills. And nobody taking part in the drill need know anything because you might just be covering potential events sometimes. And only sometimes it really does happen. And then we go, look, Eureka, there was drills running. But maybe they're actually just out there because they know something. But it gets worse, right? Because when we're going to the break, I was talking about in a quantum world, if you do start affecting the future, then retro causality, does it affect the past? I talk about what we're living in through right now, the times we're living in. I often say, I wonder if it's something in the future that's affecting us and the fact it gets weirder every year that goes on. We're catching up to that event. And I think it was that kind of thought process that got me wondering. And I'm going to get really controversial now. Really, 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 really controversial, right? Because let's move forward in time from 2007 to a really significant event that's happening right about now. And that word event is really, 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 really key to what's going on here. Because back in, I think it was October of 2019, there was another simulation that a lot of people have been looking at and talking about and been really suspicious about, because that was a tabletop simulation called Event 201, ran by people like Bill Gates, who were just simulating the next big global pandemic. And boy, oh boy, don't we like use the fact that they were so close to everything, really close to everything. The corona, what it was going to be like, everything else. Now, again, not taking away from Bill Gates or anything else, but get this, because what if when you do go affecting, say, future events, and I don't know, it sends ripples through the timeline to like maybe a Black Tom Island thing or a really significant event where people are affected in that time period in the past, which means grandfather paradox. If something happens to somebody's family lineage in the past, you shouldn't be here, right? So what if there's a way that they can almost even numbers up? They have to kind of keep things kind of in balance. It's weird, it's wacky, it's retro causality. And what if by all this and adding into CERN now, cracking open these like bigger portals, what if when you do affect the future, what if that's when you actually cause the timeline to split? And what if that's one of the reasons why people suffer Mandelas? I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's a plot for a book. It needs work. But you see how I hope as well it demonstrated that if you've got a really open mind, and here's the important thing to take from all of this, is we often talk about being critical thinkers. And sometimes it means we have to look at things from angles that make us really uncomfortable, like the powers that be maybe having other reasons, or there have been other reasons for things happening that we just take for granted, the drills, etc. Now, remember, I said right at the very start, I'm not saying I think this is a thing, but I'm thinking with the information that's out there, the technology that's out there, the weirdness that's happening, the bizarreness, the absurdity, the changing of the age. I don't know, Jimmy, Nacy, but there it is. There's my really. And I know I need to work on the final parts of it. That bit I need to work on. I need to work on if you affect the future, it takes out people in the past. How do you balance up? I've got to get that bit worked out. But what do you think, guys? I'm going to mute up, shut up, and let you have it.
Well,
look at that silence, crickets. Where's my crickets
no,
button now
I mean,
when I need it?
the quantum mechanic went rogue, and I got to say it. I like this plot line. Now, if this was a movie and you were pitching me, and I was the producer, I would like what you got. I'd like to cut your jib on the boat leading over to Speculation Island, and I'd like to go for a cruise with you and talk with you more about this premise, Kev Baker. Because realistically, if I had a machine like the world simulation machine, let's just pretend it's just a machine like a box, and on one side there's a hole, and you put a paper in there with a problem on it. You stick a problem in one side, and then you go walk around the other side of the box, the cube, and you pull out the answer. And the reason that you get an answer is because there's a representation of every single living soul on Earth. There's an icon that represents you and your history on the internet, to the point where they can pretty much predict exactly what you're going to do in a given set of circumstances. And so when they tip over a domino or see a problem that's inside this simulation, inside the box, when they do this, they see the events that will take place and where it will end up. So predicting the future in a scenario like that doesn't seem that far off into Speculation Island. It seems like that would much be almost somewhere in the 90 percentile of them being correct in their assessments. Naysay, what do you think about it?
Well, I'm really glad that Jimmy went down that line, because when he originally opened up with "I'm a producer and you're coming to me," I thought he was going to say, "I want you to come over here and sit on the couch."
I thought I was going to Weinstein's office, man. It was starting to get
exactly.
I was going to disappear in the wizard's cupboard, man.
That's right.
But the microcosm, the macrocosm, as above, so below the ground, we plant a seed, and it grows out of both ends, and it becomes a tree, or it becomes a root system. And if each of those lines are a timeline that has the potential to branch off this way and that way, in the likelihood that the powers that should not be are the powers that are fighting for their downfall, if they have this ability, whether it be through special talents or remote viewing, or they uncovered a cuneiform tablet that had these timelines written down. If they had that ability plus time travel, then they could go and try to prevent the occurrence happening, or they could nudge it this way or that way to make it line up for their want of the future.
Well, did you
when you
Sorry about that, Nate. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So when you know what is going to occur in the future, at this moment, you can make the necessary arrangements for that future to be very successful in your favor.
Well, let me give you this as well to add on that, and then Jimmy, you can take it. What if, because we have all this data now, like we're talking about, and these simulations, what if you don't even necessarily need to time travel?
You
What
don't.
if you know there's things that you can do right now, and
Yeah.
then simulate all the possibilities from an act you take
Mm-hmm.
now? Be it giving somebody a piece of information, be it, I don't know,
Yep.
start a company, whatever it is, if you then simulate all the potential, because you've got all the data anyway, you can do multiple simulations, right? You can see almost what bits of pieces of chess on the board you can move here to affect a move down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So time travel you can do almost
Without going
without
anywhere.
having to go anywhere in time.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And you know the thing is, listen, let's just draw parallels to current events, okay? Because you saw at a certain moment this thing that happened with George Floyd. And this thing with George Floyd happened right in the middle of us going through this thing where everybody was being retrained with the masking for the viruses. And so people were in these masks. And then what happened with George Floyd was, what was the mantra of the death of George Floyd? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Nobody could breathe in that moment. And when they brought out I can't breathe, many people resonated with that simply on the face of it, without any of the racial shit going along with, excuse my language. So the thing is that when you see, and Kev, you've done shows on this, smart city, nice systems. When you see something like a nice system, NICE analyzes every single event from the 911 call on, every keystroke, everything. And what it does over these periods of time and these events over and over again, it knows, it sees what happens when you do this, this happens. So once a machine learning type organism is on that tip, it starts to learn what happens if I do this, this will happen, because everything's like that, right? One or zero, this or that, right? It's that's how computers learn. And that's how we train them when we're making choices on the internet. There's two articles there for you to read. Which one do you pick? You pick that one. Okay, well, consistently, you two articles are put in front of you. You consistently pick that one. So now you're in a group. That group is run through an agreement reality programming mechanism that's based on this sentient world simulation that you're talking about right here, because it knows what's going to happen in the future. So along the way, just like you're saying, you can tweak it along. You can tweak it along the way to entice or inflame a situation, or maybe you can just dampen a situation. Do you see how things were dampened? The whole psychology of America after the election was dampened. Instead of it just exploding into this fiery ball of destruction, you know, with the drum pounding and everything that was going on right up until that very last moment. It looked like America was going to burst into flames, and really nothing happened. Realistically, they poured water on the situation, and everybody stood down, and nobody's up. You know, people are uptight, people are upset, yeah, but that is because they used this mechanism to figure out how to chill people out. They waited till the exact moment to say, Kev, Kevs, you guys could take your masks off now. It's okay. Go ahead. It's fine. Take them off. See, they waited till the exact moment to say it was okay. And now you think it's up to them to decide whether or not what you're going to be doing with your life, whether you're going to be doing this or doing that, whether you're going to go to the doctors because they told you to or not. All of these things, we've been retrained, reprogrammed, all based on social engineering, because they put that problem in the box on the one side, and the answer came out on the other side, Kev. And here we are, 2021.
If we think about the exponential rate of how things build, like technology, we look back when these businesses or these corporations or governments, they would get together in their think tanks and they would say, okay, this is the situation. What is our potential outcome? And then they would devise plan A, B, C to Z, subscript 4, TAC 3, whatever. And no matter what, the people that are in power and in control, they're okay with taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back because they are still moving forward. So so if we think of that dichotomy of the good guys and the bad guys, I would like to hope or think or feel that there is a group of individuals that are utilizing the same machinations to have the positive outcome. But what perspective, I was telling Kev earlier today, if we think of a circle and we think of the center point being the challenge or what we're focusing on, it's kind of ignorant for us to stay on one edge of the circle and look at that challenge without going all the way around to try to get a good scope of the direction we're going to go. And the same thought process, I would logically conclude that the good guys are doing it too and the bad guys are doing it also. But whose team are we going to pick?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure whose team we're going to pick, but it brings up the question now: if this technology exists, is it secret, top secret technology, or is this the type of technology that I could build over here in my company and then charge people X amount of dollars to get the results or some questions answered when they put their question into my machine?
Depending on the level of
Yeah,
magic.
it doesn't matter what machine you have. Doesn't matter what program you write. Who's got the data?
Yeah, data is king.
It's who's got the data at the end of the day, right?
That's right.
Well, they talk about these scribes of yesteryear where they would look into bowls filled with water, or they'd look into crystal spheres or stare into the fire, and they would get these premonitions or these prophecies of what may come. And now, if all of that vision in the future is the same form as technology or data or information, then the algorithm will go through the program and come to the most likely conclusion. And then a group of individuals will be like, yes, let's go for it. Here's $1 million, invest in it.
Well, all I know is, Kev Baker, I hope you start getting this book together, and I want, like I said on the break,
short stories, dude. I don't have the attention span. I'd get to chapter 4.
Yeah,
and I'd need to start reading it from the start again, though, because I'd forget where I'd gone. You know what my memory's like, man. You know what I'm saying? We would start in one place, and it would end in a different genre.
That's
let
fine.
alone storyline.
Hey, maybe you'll be the new Philip K. Dick, man.
Hey, who knows, man? Now, there's an interesting guy.
I know.
He's a dude that says he literally walked in another timeline, universe, dimension, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the most profound speeches I've ever heard. The whole
definitely a Freaky Friday worth of woo with Philip K. Dick. I've read most of his stuff. Yeah, brilliant man.
What do you make of the fact that Hanson Robotics and Singularity? No, was it No, what was the name of the company?
Yeah, it slips my mind all the time too. It's the one where the woman who worked there made a robot that looked just like herself.
Yeah, Geordie Rose's company. What's the name of it? Am I having like a Mandela effect?
Yeah,
I had like the creepy seller for the landing page for years. And then you got into the website. Then they pulled the website. I got in touch with Geordie. I'm like, what's gone wrong? Is a robot gone rogue? He says, no, we're just miles away from getting anything that's near being like ready. What was the name of that company, dude?
I cannot remember because I have short-term memory loss.
Were they like the robot manufacturing company?
Yeah, D-Wave, Kindred. Hang on.
I'm sure someone in Disco might throw it out at you, or the Wookiee Cave, if they can. Get your fingers on the walking there, chat.
It's not this one here I just found, Rubber Chick Ranch. That's not it, is it?
Oh.
No, I think this.
Sanctuary
oh, wait a minute.
AI, that's it. Sanctuary.
Oh, there
AI.
you go. Sanctuary. Yeah.
Well, that metaphor earlier about the tree, and if you think about all of those branches being a different timeline,
okay.
I sometimes think about deja vu would be one of those moments where the branches may like cross each other, and if the wind blows hard enough, they'll touch, and then all of a sudden we get this timeline crossing, you know. But imagine if you knew in advance when you're about to take a choice whether or not it's the best one for your future.
Ooh, now what, dude? If we're getting into this uncanny valley, anything is on the table here. But what I was going to say about that creepy company, right, and Hanson, was that they had built a synthetic replacement or impersonator, which was Philip K. Dick. That was like one of their big projects, and that's where we came across the term not uploading but side loading. They took, like, you say you've read all of, like, or most of Philip K. Dick's works. Well, they took all of his works, journals, recordings, things the public never seen, and they used that as the data set to kind of train the AI that is Philip K. Dick the robot. That's kind of creepy, Nancy, right?
Well, if you think of even like with synchronicities and stuff, so I've been checking out audio description because now movies are coming out with audio description, and Max or HBO Max, they came out. A friend of mine is like, you have to check out this series, Raised by Wolves, and I checked it out, and it didn't have audio description, but lo and behold, last week it had audio description, and I check it out, and I freaked out about it because, as some people might know, I'm trying to get cannabis cultivation on my reservation, and one way that I've been saying to plant these cannabis fields are in spirals, and then all of a sudden in this series, that's how they're planting their fields, and I've never heard of
Wow,
this before.
that is wild.
And it kind of like it freaked me out because it's just like, is this okay, maybe it's hubris or my ego, but I have had many occurrences of things that I've predicted have happened. Oh, and if I can bring up, Kev, wonderful show at Nano on Tuesday.
Yeah,
And I
fantastic.
wanted I wanted to get a hold of you because 17 years ago, I came up with the concept of what I called the hot cold finder, and it was where you had little RFID tags, little, because you can get them, smaller than a postage stamp, and you would put them on things that you'd lose, and it would have like a little garage, no bigger than the garage door holder, and it had 5 different buttons that you'd push, and you could have it a tone, or you could have it an audio where it would say hot, cold, warmer, as you're trying to find your thing. And then you and Nano were talking about that new app that has the same thing. And I was freaking out about that because, again, one of those predictive things. So, so would the powers that should not be, if they knew, oh, now I just put myself in there, if they knew there were individuals that were able to predict or prophesy the future, would they not want to run some kind of testing to see if this is in their bloodline or if this is in their generalized testing in the high school? They know if certain questions are asked, the algorithm will say, hey, that Kev Baker, he has remote viewing talents. It shows through all of his generalized testings we've had, and let's get him into the 77 brigade.
Don't start that rumor again. That one's only just died off, man.
Like myself, being ex-military.
I know. I'm the worst 77th Brigader there is. I done a show on them one time, or that could be a double bluff, right? That could be my cover.
Well,
You
and we
see.
have our magician in our wizard in the cupboard, Jimmy here.
Wizard
So
in the cup.
Let me out of the box, man. Well, hey, man, look, Seriously though. So yeah, I mean, if you've got an ability to sort of predict the future, it's cool. But you know, I have this idea too that it kind of resonates with what you're saying. And it kind of goes along with what you're saying, and that is that we find a lot of times, especially here in the alternative media, we see people come up with ideas or start looking at stuff almost at the same time. It's almost like a certain group of people's on a frequency level, and they're pulling information out of the ether space somehow. And so, like, you know, you have an idea, and you said, "Oh, you know, I had this idea to plant in a spiral," and you know, some other guy had that idea too, and you know, he pulled it out of the ether space. And so, those two guys, so let's just say the two guys that thought of that, you and the other guy who thought of that, or the other five guys, you guys are all on the plane of existence or a frequency level where you guys are consistently pulling creative information out of the ether space.
Hold that thought. Wow, deepness. Before we go to the end of hour one, join us after the break. 2 more hours to go on your Freaky Friday. Yes, indeed. I'm going to have to grab a coffee, gentlemen. I'm going to ran out of orange juice near enough.
I'm going to have to take a 420 and raise some ancient smokes to the sky.
Do that. Are you, Nacy, are you able to entertain the vast crowds in Discord, or do you want to put some tunes on?
Are there vast crowds in Discord? Hello?
Yes, there is, but I need to move because we only got a 3-minute break.
Go for it. I'll just say hello to everybody in Discord, and then I'm gonna take a little... Play some music, Kev. Or Nacy, get in here, Sonny. What are you, on a break? You got time to lean, you got time to clean, son. Once you're over there, make me a cup of coffee, Nacy, while you're there. I'll stay over here with the peeps and chill.
I'm always taking the opportunity of when...
There he is. All right, listen, let me smoke some weed while you go over here, and because I am in California and it is legal, YouTube, so let me smoke some weed.
California.
Okay.
All right, do as you will do. Cuckoo, Cachoo, here we are. Thank you for joining us, Discord. You know how much I love you. Tonight, I am predicting that I will be in the voice chat where my name was typed upon. So come join me for a little bit. We can yarn, as they say, down in there, and spend some time, some precious moments with you in Discord. I have really enjoyed the opportunity to get closer to you, reach out and touch someone like you care. Get permission first, consensual, please, don't forget. It's an incredible week. We're about coming upon the full moon next week. And according to my calculations, it is Odei Minigisis, which is called the strawberry picking moon. So start looking around. Your strawberries should be getting to the point where they're delicious. And I'll take strawberries. I love the strawberries.
Strawberry shortcake is always good.
Yes, absolutely. Here's a little thing that I wanted to do. If you take a straw, you can take a strawberry, put it upside down so the tip is towards the atmosphere and, towards the sky. And then you take a straw and you press it down through the tip into the green, and it will automatically push the green out. Then you take dark chocolate with Himalayan salt, and you get it and you melt it, and then you pull it, you pour it into the hole of the strawberry, and then you let it come up and over the tip so it looks kind of like a mountain with a snow cap, dark chocolate, and it's delicious.
Sounds like it.
Especially if you infuse it with some full spectrum cannabis.
Especially. Couldn't be better. Well, it's getting close to the time. I don't know where Mr. Kev Baker is.
He's right there.
Is that him?
Where he was?
I don't see him. He's not at his post. He's not at the... There he comes.
Here we go, boys. Here we go. Sorry.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency I wanna know, are you true? Can you woo 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 woo? They don't thug it like I do. Can you woo 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 woo? I wanna know, are you true? Can you woo 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 woo? They don't run this like we do. Can you woo woo woo?
Is it true? Is it deja vu? Is it you? Can I come through and kick it with you? Can we woo woo woo? Snip a little ooh ooh. Don't really matter cause you're still my boo boo. We can slide out, ride out, back to my hideout.
That's the crickets again. We don't want crickets, right? We want the Wookiee. I've lost the Wookiee. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wookiee has gone missing. Can you believe it? I'll find them. Shh, the things I've got to deal with around here, Jimmy, Nacy, I'm telling you. Moving into hour number 2. Do you think us talking about that machine, our fictional kind of like yarn that we went on, do you think that like cancelled the Wookiee out of the timeline?
Might have.
No, I think he ran to the little Wookiee's room.
Think so?
I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what.
The Wookiee's long gone, man. I tell you, there's like crazy things going on.
So he had to go and hit the alarm because he was afraid to come out to Speculation Island, maybe?
I think he I think he was eating beefaroni last night. He might have to run to the border real quick.
There's definitely a little bit of this going on. That's for sure.
Jittering and jittering.
Yeah, jiggering and jiggering. Lots of the jiggering and jiggering.
A ghost in the machine.
Well, it's interesting you played those crickets, man, because I remember like a couple years ago we played crickets like at a slower speed. It sounds like angels singing. It's trippy, man. It's a weird situation. You know, it's kind of like when we hear the crickets, they're moving real fast, but when you slow them down, they sound different. It's just like we can't perceive certain light. You know what I mean? It's certain of us cannot perceive the etheric realm, was what we were talking about before we went to the break, because Nacy has psychic abilities, and he's able to pull or resonate.
Psychotic abilities.
Yeah, I mean, your spine, even though you're in the chair, your spine is still your antenna, man. You know, you're still able to pull.
Is it a chair, Jimmy, or is it a
sarcophagi? Scarf coffee guy. Sarcophagi.
Brilliant, man.
Yeah. So you know, what do you guys think about that though? Do you? I mean, because you notice it across the board. For some reason, we all start to get on to some subject, something. You know, quantum computers or you know, whatever it is, pyramids or whatever. It just seems to be a bunch of people at a certain point that just sort of get onto something and they go for it. Now, are we pulling stuff out of the ether, or are we being manipulated by the very machine you were talking about earlier, with trolling us in the waters inside of this agreement reality that's been sussed out by our psychological profile? Are we resonating, me and you, Kev, when we do a show on the same thing, or have we been fed somehow an article or a piece of information that we both see somehow? Out of all the billions of pieces of information, we find these particular ones, and then we go do the legwork, that kind of thing, where we actually affect the reality by actually promoting the very thing that we're talking about.
I think there's a whole heap of everything going on.
It's wild, man.
There is. There's a whole heap of it. Again, different ways of looking at it. You know, there's only really a set parameter of kind of angles to take on counter narratives, alternative views to what's been put forward in the mainstream. So there's one way of looking at it. Well, these are all kind of similar genres, but there's absolutely the way you're talking about it as well, because I used to kind of laugh when you said, you know, my Google looks different than yours. I know it does not. And I used to get lost, Jimmy. But then I learned more about how social engineering works, how the internet works, and more importantly, how algorithms work, and how they can change your behavior. So absolutely, I can go from it the other side as well, Jimmy, where it knows exactly what stories and where to put them and who buy for us to bite, to take the bait, because they know what we like. They know exactly what we like. Think of this again, Cambridge Analytica. Yeah, it's like a living proof that they had at least 5,000 data points on you Americans. That's just one company.
It's
That's
not.
like one we know about, you know?
It's not that anybody's bad either. It's that we are fully manipulated by this machine that we're talking about. This machine is called the behavior modification complex for a reason. Google is the behavior.
It's a monster. It's a monster. It's like a living entity. Let's take it deep blue,
It is.
Let's
This
give it
week,
life, man.
this week, I was talking about getting an air purifier in my room. And this morning, when I turned on my fake book, what's the first ad I get? It's about an air
Air
I
purifier.
know, dude.
Cricket
I
Burger.
know.
an air purification system.
Well,
It's on a
like I'll add this one into it, right? Sorry, Jimmy, but just yesterday, and this has been going on for a week or so now. But ever since we done the show on Paul McCartney or Paul McCartney, Travis.
I'm jealous I wasn't there.
Well, Travis keeps getting plagued by links about that particular conspiracy, and up until the time me and Bill mentioned it about a fortnight ago, Travis had no idea that was even a thing. So again, it just adds to what you're saying, that they know. It's like we've talked about this before. It's creepy. It's really, really creepy when you think about how they can push your buttons throughout the day, and few of us really appreciate it. And even when you know about it, you still don't truly like it.
No.
Me. I can only talk about me. I talk about all these things, and it's happening to me. I'm not
It is.
immune from it.
No,
It
nobody
might
is.
sound like I'm better than this, but we're all being affected by
No,
it, folks. We are.
We are, and it's the thing is this goes to a level that's not even funny. Like for example, if you're a male, you'll be presented advertising with different female figures in this advertising, and you'll be given a couple. Like say you're buying whatever you're buying, it'll be some advertising for that thing, but there'll be different types of people of different color and different gender and all this. And based on just the picture of the person that's in the ad, you're making a decision in your mind, and you're picking somebody either A, that you're attracted to, B, who's the same color as you, or C, is the same, sexual preference for whatever reason you can tell. Okay, so the thing is when you choose out of those two pictures, there's two pictures here. They presented you with two different kinds of things, and you chose this one. And so by making a consistent choice on that one, they can pretty much determine the demographic, everything about you, to send you a pearl somehow. For example, let's say I'm an agency. Let's say I'm a lettered agency. And so by buying this data scrape on this type of information, I can literally tell exactly what kind of a woman you're attracted to. And I could send one of my people who fits the description of the woman that you're attracted to down to the bar that you go to. Okay, sit down there and be almost 99% sure that you're going to come over and talk to that person. And then once you do, she drops you a little bump in your drink, and then you go home and spill your guts, and she runs home and builds a new missile or whatever. I mean, that's how it works. That's what this information is. It's literally down to that level.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I found a story that we're going to get into in a moment. But
Sweet.
No, sorry, Jimmy. Sorry.
No.
Well,
Daisy, I know you were
with
going to take it, man. I know you were going to. I found a weird synchronicity, but we'll get there.
I don't remember if it was Gillette or if it was Schick, but it was back in the 90s where they got caught apparently with RFIDs in their packaging, and supposedly when it got taken off the rack, it would turn on and it would somehow plot the way the customer would go through the store. And eventually, as this increased, they started putting these little trackers inside the shopping carts, so they would create the data of how long a person stayed looking at this display or that display. And, did they go to the outer aisles or go all the way through, and just did all of this like psychological profiling on the customer, and when they utilize that against us, they used to have it with the earlier cell phones that with the court with a court order that they can get all of your phone conversations. And then you find out that the FBI and the CIA, they had the ability to turn on your phone and listen for 30 seconds. And if you said a buzzword, that gave them the right to continue to start recording, but they couldn't go beyond 30 seconds. And if you know from experiencing, being on the shows, a lot can be said in 30 seconds. And imagine, all of that with the the exponential rate of that technology getting better and better. And now we have these smartphones and all these social networks where we're just giving them all the data that could be used for such nefarious things. But it'd be nice if they, benevolent or malevolent. What are they going to do? There's the biggest question.
Can I check in for a minute before you get into that article, Kev, on this? Because I just want to say that, in this conversation, and especially talking about the cell phones, it's a big concern. But I'm going to say, I would really say that, ladies and gentlemen, something to take a look at, and maybe we can even do a show on this coming up with you guys, is the smart TVs, because the infrared technology that's going on in these TVs, there's a lot more to your TV on the wall. I mean, it's more like a telescreen from 1984. It's a two-way screen. It's providing information, and when there's a micro network in your house based on your LED lights, the 900 megahertz coming off the smart meter, smart devices in your house working in conjunction with the 900 megahertz network, the Internet of Things. These things are all reporting. You go from room to room to room. You got a listening device and Alexa. Your TV is watching you even when it's off. And I'll just put an example on what I'm talking about with the TV, because it needs to. You know how your TV has these really great features where it has like backlighting and all this type of thing? Well, the reason we put the technology in the TV is to adjust based on the light that's coming in your room, right? But it doesn't just see the light that's in your room. It also sees the figures that are in your room, how many people are in there, because you have a signature that you can see with infrared. And so, these smart TVs, anything that has an acronym called SMART, you better look at it. And for the life of me, you guys, I cannot remember what it is, but there is a military acronym that is SMART. For some reason, I cannot get it to come up when I do my search at my Google. So maybe you guys could find it. But
well, if you look at sonar and radar and communication, receivers and transmitters, if you have a receiver that can put out a pulse or a field or a frequency, it will rebound from the surface area in the room. And now that they are dual send and receive, when that energy bounces back into the screen, it can then extrapolate the details of the room. And if you look at your smart television and you look at the top inch and you follow it along, usually they're in the middle, but you'll find like 4 little itty bitty pixels that seem just a little off. And that's where your camera is on your smart screen.
Pixels or cameras. Hey, somebody over in the chat room just said today is the 21st day of the 21st month of the 21st century. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, it's pretty cool. So I'll have to look at that. So yeah, secret military. What is it? Resident technology. So somebody put what it is in my chat room. I'll have to get it. I don't have the right glasses on.
Secret military resonance technology.
Yeah,
that'd be a good acronym.
That is the acronym for smart devices. I'll get it for you guys. So Kev Baker.
Well, if you research the U.S. Army Strategic College, you can get some of their publications, and it'll, we're all excited about the latest adaptation or the newest model of this, that, and the other thing, but the same goes with the military, where they have these independent contractors creating these new weapons of observation or security or different levels. They're making the assumption of what's going to occur, and then they're creating the gadgets to assist them in that outcome. And where are we going to be when it happens? If it happens, when it happens, who knows?
Well,
But
let me just say, I mean, if you've gotten there, okay, so now we're here and we're at the point where a pixel is a camera. So now, if a pixel is a camera, it's inside of a screen, can there be free-floating nano cameras that are working off energy provided wirelessly by devices in your home? So in other words, see, now they show us that we can charge our phones wirelessly. So immediately what that makes me think is, well, if they got it going so good they can sell me something to charge my phone wirelessly, then they obviously have secretly figured out how to send power wirelessly to devices that exist inside of these secret military armament resident technology. Smart. That's what I'm thinking. But Kev Baker's got an article. We're shifting gears, I think, ladies and gentlemen. But it's if it's down to the nanoscale, if there are self-assembling nano machines.
This is like the confessions of two hardcore, like, conspiracy Mel Gibson guys here. I think we're gonna swap the magician's cupboard for a tinfoil lined Faraday cage.
Well, just as long as you make the shiny side has to be out on your tinfoil. Just remember that. If the shiny side
dude,
has to be out.
You can have my tinfoil, man. I'm gonna have. I'll have the toilet roll. You keep the tinfoil. How's that sound?
Well, it sounds good, but I thought we were going to Speculation Island.
If I may add, though, originally when aluminum foil was made out of tin actually will have a dampening to electromagnetic frequency. Aluminum foil does not. Tin foil does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting bit of.
I'm telling you, Nancy. If I ever get to America and I come to yours for a brew, you better not be wearing a tinfoil hat. Like, literally, best not have one of them on.
He's got a tinfoil.
No, mine looks like Magneto's.
He's got a tinfoil ski mask on, man. What are you talking about?
I'm telling you, tinfoil gimp suit.
Bring out the gimp.
It could be a thing, but listen, how about when we slip in?
Wake him up.
When we slip being a very, very deliberate pun. We slip in a bit of time woo along the way. How's that sound, gents? Since we were going into the time stream later,
sounds good.
And then you can get back to, like, terrifying me about how paranoid I should be after that, right?
Well, snap me back into reality, man. I'm so far.
No, listen, I was just expecting the attack of the Triffids, electronic Triffids, that to come along at some stage there.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, I am so far out here on Speculation Island, dude.
It's great, dude. This is where we're meant to be. It's just like, wow, man. I didn't realize it was like a tinfoil hammock.
Okay,
get together.
Well, bring me back to camp. I'm lost. I don't have my GPS. Get me back to base camp, dude. Get me back to base camp.
It's a good way to kind of wind out the week, I must admit.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, we're going to have a little bit of time woo now, boys, okay? We'll go for a bit of this. Shift gears into this for a moment. Then where we go, nobody knows. I'm sure, though, this will inspire conversation, because it says a researcher claims that time slips have trapped thousands of Brits in the past. Was it time slips, or was it that, like, crazy simulation shifting things? See? Have you ever suddenly found yourself in surroundings that seem familiar yet out of place with the current time? Did you feel stuck there, watching events take place that appear to be decades or even centuries in the past? Did you just as suddenly find yourself back in the present with no explanation? Drugs, brain injury, wizard. Oh, hey, it actually throws in wizard here. Time machine for this experience, ? You may have fallen into what is known as a time slip, a popular plot device in science fiction to facilitate time travel. Now, many people believe in time slips are real, and paranormal researcher and author Rodney Davies is one of them. And a recent article about the time slips in the Daily Mail talking about time slips. This is the weird and wonderful world we're in now. Includes his warning that many disappearances in Great Britain, perhaps thousands of them, are due to people falling into time slips and becoming trapped in the past. Do they take keys, remotes, and socks too? So this is where it got kind of weird for me, and I'll have to describe this for the listening radio audience because when I was scanning down this article, I found a really interesting picture of like it's a dusky kind of night. It's a tree-lined road, and right smack bang in the middle of the road, there's this glowing light, a crazy glowing light, like a portal almost across the road, a neon greeny kind of color. And because if you're not watching this just now, because we're recording it on my software here, but it turns out when I made like the Freaky Friday kind of graphics, my graphics are kind of eerily similar to what we see on this picture, right? I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's a weird synchronicity.
Hey, you pulled it out of the ether space, dude. What we were just talking about, eh?
Oh, Anne's needing me. What is it? Hang on.
Yeah, no
Lost
worries.
it.
Yeah, so see, there's a thing. So there's a creative piece of Kev that he was just wanting to create something, and he pulled it out of the.
Well, that's what. Remember, I laughed, or I was kind of getting weirded out when you said something, and it didn't make sense at the time.
Yeah.
That's what I'd scrolled past. I looked at it and I thought, whoa, whoa. So I don't know. Listen, because of what we've been talking about, it was kind of weird. I'm not saying it is anything, just interesting. But it says here, quote, of these people who fall into time slips, some have returned to relate their adventures while others have left notice of their strange exploits in the form of objects fossilized in solid rocks as footprints impressed thereon. In his 2019 book, Time Slips, Journey into the Past and Future, Davies tells accounts of those who claim to have experienced them, but he tells the Daily Mail that they're difficult to explain. One theory states the past, present and future are all one, holy shamoly, but our limited consciousness can only experience time by being in what we know as the present. While some people experience brief flashes of the past surrounding the area they're in, some have told him that they've spent long periods there, walking around, conversing with people, interacting with surroundings, and perhaps even living there for a time. He presents stories of modern times found in modern items found in fossils as evidence. Now, it says, quote, well, there have been some very odd discoveries. I researched stories of strange machinery found in 18th century labourers and jewellery discovered in seams of coal. Jimmy, did we not talk about seams of coal and ancient objects lately?
Yes, we did.
Holy, this is the right story we went to, isn't it?
That's wild, man.
Yeah. So in the book, he links so-called ancient aliens to time slippers. They sound nice and warm for the winter, don't they? Time slippers. Oh, just the author suggests that many of the ancient deities were in fact time travelers who, having discovered the technique of time slipping, went back to take practical skills and of moral guidance to earlier peoples that who found that their self-seeking benevolence created unanticipated problems for themselves. Is this getting like a little bit creepy compared to what we were talking about earlier on? I don't know.
It totally is. And the past, present, and future all at the same moment, man. How many times have we said that on the show, man?
And then there was unanticipated problems when you like start traveling about in time and things. I don't know. This implies that one can master time slipping, which means one must know where these time slip portals exist. Now, the Daily Mail conveniently lists a few based on stories like those in Davies' book. Devon in Compton Castle, Cornwall, Kent in Leeds Castle, and on Liverpool's Bold Street. Now, that's actually quite a famous one. It's like a tourist attraction. You go there and people have like literally time slipped, which many investigators attribute to subway trains running in concentric circles beneath it, spinning open a time slip. That's an interesting thought.
Mm-hmm.
But it concludes here by saying, could time slips explain many of the mysterious vanishings around the world? Are the time slippers Davies writes about real, hallucinators, or hoaxes? And I'm open to it being all of the above. Could time slips explain Bigfoot or some other cryptids? Aliens? Gods? Or are they just a sci-fi plot device used when no other explanation works for a mysterious disappearance? Davies seems more worried about thousands of Brits he thinks are caught in the past. How can they be returned? If you're in Liverpool, never go out without some old subway tokens. Boom, boom. What do you think, boys? We're just about on the break. We'll discuss time slipping, time, all that kind of woo on the other side. But yes,
Hell
Well,
yeah.
to bring it to this crazy reality, the sci-fi movie that comes to mind definitely is 12 Monkeys.
oh, brilliant, man! Did you ever watch the new series, like the kind of? I think it was 2 or 3 seasons. They
I
had?
have not checked that out, but I've been
Oh,
told
they say
about
you
it.
must. Yes, you must. You will like that. Very apt for the times that we're living in right now, of course, because 12 Monkeys, if my memory serves me correctly, is set against the backdrop of a global pandemic of some kind, right?
May I make a? How
Mm.
close are we to the break?
About 30 seconds away.
Okay, I'm going to give a
rabbit's
quick
whisker.
prediction on what's going to happen after the break. I predict that 99.99 of the miracles out there shall return. To hear some more.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I'm liking the sound of that, dude. Somebody just subscribed to the YouTube channel, and for some reason it came flying through here. But hey, I'm not even on YouTube. Who knows? Who knows?
Who
Or
knows?
are you?
But Jimmy, when are you on air next, man?
Hey, tonight, 10:30 Pacific, Aftermath.fm, late night style, right after Clyde Lewis, after party after the after party. John Brisson just hit me up with a message. I haven't talked to him in a while, and I sent him a message earlier, told him to give me a call. And but now he's messaged me back, so I'm just gonna hit him back and say, but it's good to hear from him. You know, he's had some issues with these current things that have been going on. He's had a couple family members, you know, not come out of it, you know, on the upside, and so he's super busy. And I just
Has he recovered from the coof yet?
yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, I haven't talked to him in a bit, just simply because he's been going through this whole visiting the hospitals for his relatives that, you know, and this is public knowledge. I'm not sharing anything, you know, that doesn't.
Yeah, I heard him talking on a stream. That's why I wouldn't have brought it up otherwise. But are we on the break? Did we miss the break?
I
don't
think
know.
we're on the break.
I'm always ready to take a break, you know. Is it
We'll
break
come
time?
back, then we'll come back. I didn't hear the break kicking in.
Well, you gave me that 30-second countdown.
I know,
so
but
I'm going to make that
didn't you-
assumption.
Didn't hear any music though.
The
Mhm.
20-second rule always catches us in the end.
I don't know. So tonight will be at 9:21. It'll be the 21st minute of the 21st hour of the 21st day of the 21st week of the 21st year of the 21st century.
Badass. So
That's,
Nice.
that's a pretty cool kind of stat. I like that.
I know, and that
and
was
I'm here
that was
with you too.
who was it? It was
Yay.
it was Solar Wars over in my chat room that brought it up. I didn't even know. Let's kick ass, man.
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
They've been dropping like flies on the reservation. It's sad. My cousin
Oh my god.
last week overdosed. Overdose is the worst that's happened on our reservation.
Yeah.
The number of people that didn't mean to bring it down, but
Well, that's a scene. No, that's a scene.
Yeah.
That's a whole issue, man. You know, I mean, that's a big. You know, there's I mean, you know for a fact that I've done some stuff on that. I mean, that's a whole axe to grind. I mean,
Let's bring it back, guys.
yeah.
Okay, welcome back. I think we're back. We're live, hopefully. We are halfway through this week's Freaky Friday already. Can you believe it? And of course, it doesn't end at the end of Freaky Friday. No, no, no. Brent Thomas, he will be here on tfrlive.com to guide you through, ease you through the paranormal portal. And previous guest, and hopefully an upcoming guest sometime soon, if he forgives me for being very ignorant and never getting back to him. Ken Ami. Remember when he came on the show? We talked all about the Nephilim and stuff like that. Well, he has just kind of clarified what Jimmy was putting together for us before the break. And get this, folks, at 9:21, and that'll be EST, I think. It will be the 21st minute of the 21st hour of the 21st day of the 21st week of the 21st year of the 21st century. That's pretty cool, boys, isn't it?
It is cool. And, I can't believe I'm here for this moment with you guys, man.
Yeah, that'll be pretty sweet, man. Pretty sweet.
What if that is coming from the Gregorian reset or the Julian reset or the Atlantis reset? Or
who cares? It's cool numbers, dude. We're going to get Time Wave Zero is going to kick in.
It is, man. It is.
We'll be in the upside down. Yeah.
I can't
Can
wait.
I push the button then?
Yeah,
push the button.
That's when the alien invasion is going to take place, boys.
So what I was going to say earlier, you guys, when we were talking about the time before time ran out and we got to the break, was that it was an interesting idea that you stay in the same place and time can move forward. So you're just delayed by a second. You know what I mean? You follow yourself for just a second because you stood in the same place for a second, and there's a ripple. You know what I mean? So now you got a deja vu. You know what I mean? You're like, I've been here before. You know what I mean? This kind of thing. There's some sort of recognizing of the moment. And, it's interesting when that happens. And is that, something that happens because you're like in some sort of a blinking of a moment where you got hung up? You got hung up in traffic. It's like, here's a metaphor. You're driving down the road and you catch this one red light and you get hung up for 7 minutes too long, and then you head on down the freeway, and when you get down the freeway you see there's been a horrible, terrible accident and people have been killed and there's bodies laying everywhere. And if you wouldn't have caught that red light for that 7 minutes, if you hadn't been delayed by that red light, you might have been in that accident. And it's that kind of thing that's possible that happens, when you have these jostlings or these senses of deja vu, that you may be getting bumped in time for a second because the future says that something's going to happen in a moment, and if you don't jostle that or jerk that person out for just a second and put them back, they're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's not their time to go. So maybe
it's the machine, man. It's the machine. It's the machine we were talking about, Jim. I'm telling you that they've done something just to knock you a second out of kilter. And that's been enough to it all splinters off the events then, man. What happens?
Yeah.
Futures change.
10-4.
Well, I don't think I've ever discussed my theory on time travel.
Please do.
So
we like a bit of time travel, man.
I do not think that time travel is possible without creating a starting point, whether you want to call it like a ring on the ground, but you would need to have some kind of memory point to where you could return to. That there has to be some kind of conjunction, or, because I think of it from the principle of sending and receiving a transmission. And I also do not believe that we can travel beyond the earth, because we resonate at a specific frequency that is from us being brought forth in this specific geosphere of what we call the earth, whether we look at the atmosphere, the stratosphere, and the troposphere. And so I do not think we can go beyond that in our time travel.
But that's okay, dude. I'm quite happy if it's limited to just anywhere on Earth. I had no inclination to go to Mars in 50 years or anything. I'm happy with the Earth. I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
But I would speculate that there would have to be some type of authority to watch over it because of the potential of massive chaos
Tom
with the
Cruise, man, he's
manipulation
a
of.
time cop. I'm telling you. Him and Nicolas Cage. I've seen the photograph of Nicolas Cage back in sepia times. He's a time cop. That's what's going on here, dude.
Well, I would like to, because that's where the biggest logical fear that I have is if you can go back and manipulate. And I do believe that once you go back in the future, you're not able to go back to the present, because the moment you go into the past, because of you releasing any oxygen in your lungs, you've greatly manipulated the past. To what extent? You just brought a whole new set of microscopic particulates from the future, which is going to affect the past. So the timeline has changed the minute you materialized in the past. And to go into the future, I would believe that the minute that you dematerialized into the future, you would find yourself captured within a cell, like a bubble, because they wouldn't want you to affect their future. They'd be like, hell no, and you'd be,
People sitting in bubbles having their meals tonight, dude.
oh no, they would just eradicate you. Flame on.
These restaurants where they've got people literally sitting in bubbles, I'm thinking you're on it, man.
Well, the thing is that the bubble idea is actually one that really makes a lot of sense, because if you would have to, in order, so time is existing or all existing in a moment, right? Past, present, and future. If you're in that bubble, your bubble is like your transporting mechanism to bring you into these different places. You see what I mean?
Or are you talking about the bubble helmets?
Well, the thing is there's a concept that you could chop time in a box, keep time in a certain speed in a box, and time is in and of itself exists and is moving at its own speed. So you can chop time in a box if it's linear, if it's a line that goes from point A to infinity.
What happens if we put it in Schrodinger's box? What does that do to the cats?
Well, I don't know. The cats probably jump up, start smoking cigarettes, and snorting
How
cocaine.
cool is that is like, in fact, when you open it, it's a box of frogs.
It could
right?
be. You never know. I mean, and these
Coughing up hairballs.
could
be exactly. See, now you're on it. Now you're on it.
see anything's possible in an
I
alternative.
don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
See, it's even a box of gay frogs.
It could be, but there's no
Maybe it's all that.
not that
licking of
there's
the
anything-
frogs that they got gay.
And let me just say, not that there's anything wrong with a box of gay frogs. We're just pointing it out.
Nothing
It
at
could
all.
be a box.
I am as mad as a box of any kind of
Gay
frog.
frogs.
Well, just don't be frogs in a
I'm as
pot.
bad as a
Just-
box.
No,
of cage.
I'll tell you what, right? Before this descends into chaos, let me get you this one. This is from TV, right? And we've seen many ways they try and come up with methods of time travel. And I've said this before, but it's still one that's always stayed with me. It's like such a cool idea. But TV show Travelers. He's watched that. I'm sure plenty of people listening have, right? But what happens is, because they're coming back from the future to now to change events, because their future is a pretty grim, morbid-looking place. So they've got a quantum mainframe. And because it's in the future, they've got a record of everyone's death. They've got the time, the date, they've got everything. And what happens is, the way they do it is, it's their consciousness that's digitized. And just at the point of somebody leaving their spacesuit, somebody moving on to the other side, that exact second when the soul uncouples and the body becomes just about gone, zoop, it's like the consciousness from the future is transported into that body. And they kind of they come away. It's like a near-death experience, but it's the personality. It's the person from the future that's taken over the spacesuit. That's a pretty weird idea, right?
Well,
like a
here's some
walk-in
woo.
from the future, you know?
Here's your woo with that, Kev. no one in the entire world has seen that TV series because they purposely fed it to you to assist the programming to share that. So I can say the white rabbit is running west. The brown bear has not found his honey pot. Meet you on the dark side of the moon.
Wow. And Cookie Jew,
The chair
you
is
are
against the
walrus.
wall. The chair is against the wall. The chair
Oh,
is
tell
against the
this
wall.
is getting wild. This is getting wild. Who's got a copy of Catcher of the Rye as well? This is turning into something really weird and wacky here, man. What's going on, guys?
I don't know. It's gotten wild because you know why? We jumped timelines and now we're in the Dave Baker zone. That's what I think. I think Dave is now Kev has been replaced by Dave. We're on
You
the
know when Dave's in the building, the hat goes on back to front. That's your cue for oh boy.
maybe you're trying to
And
maybe you're trying to pull one over on me, and it's Dave trying to perpetrate.
Kev,
Let's see. I knew it. Man, oh
Dave
man.
has been in disguise. Dave's
Alright.
been
'Cause
here all along.
See, I knew it.
Dave does not follow a timeline. He follows a time spiral.
Dave is out of time. He like just sits outside of it. He observes. He lurks. He's in lurk mode.
I don't want to
Lurks
go
in
back in the box.
Lurk. I tell you, talking about like lurk mode and playing about with people's brains in the back of your mind. Watched a great documentary today, guys. You boys will know more about this one than I do. But the Unabomber, man. And you know what really stood out about that whole kind of story about that character is his manifesto.
Oh,
Have any of you like looked into that kind of stuff? Because look,
Yes.
I'm not here to glorify Ted Kaczynski.
No.
He killed people and he went about things his
well,
own
they
way.
said. Well, hold on. They
But,
said.
but wait a minute though, right? When you take that as just a piece of literature, right, and you look at it, it's pretty profound, right? Because he was pretty much laying out how the future was going to be. They want us to upload our consciousness. They're going to take over our bodies with technology. Technology's ruined civilization. It's a bit extreme. It's way out there, right? I'm not condoning his actions, but at the same time, you can't get away from the fact that when he was a very, very young, like protege, a child genius, he was in Harvard getting played about with some of these wacky psychiatrists
Harvard.
back in the day.
That's right. Well,
And that's
Well-
why, again, I'm not taking away, like, I'm not giving the guy cover.
well, he
But there's
doesn't.
a lot of factors, and what a story that is, man.
Well, let me just say this, man. I mean, honestly, there's really no way to know if he was responsible for any of the things that happened. It's not like he was standing there with a gun and he shot somebody in the face and they caught it on camera. You know, it was said that he sent these bombs out and all this, and they said that he did stuff. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, or maybe he was taken out with this particular thing because of what he was putting out in that manifesto. Because listen, we've done quite a bit of research on this, man. When they discover somebody's super smart early on in your life, when you get discovered, whenever you show up someplace and they start, you show up at kindergarten or whatever school you show up at, the minute they figure out that you're super smart or you have some sort of talent, like Nase was saying earlier, he has a psychic ability. When you get flagged, you immediately get swept up into a situation. Go ahead, Nase.
I was just saying psychotic ability, not psychic ability. But yeah, I absolute standardized testing. Just simple. If you think about it, they're like, what is the pattern? Circle, triangle, square, circle, triangle, fill in the blank. And they just keep increasing it to the intellect of the individual. And once these kids, I'm sorry, I'm repeating what you said there, Jimmy, but yeah, absolutely. And when they have the smartest brains, either willingly or unwillingly, I think of Manchurian Candidate. Then, of course, we get to Monarch and Butterflies and
Well, the thing
MK
is,
Ultra,
and when you're
behavior modification and mind control.
and when you're the Unabomber, and you're just walking around in your life, and everybody around you is an operator. Every single person around you, every single person you come in contact with, every person in your life, people that have been in your life for years, they're
The
handling
woman in the red dress.
exactly. They're handling you, and you don't know it. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that he's even who they said he was. But the point is that they knew where to find him, they knew where to get him, they knew where to. Although, how does his manifesto get in Kev Baker's hot little hand? And how about Dave Baker now? And Dave Baker's got it in his hot little hand. Dave, what else about this? Can we magnify? Can we magnify? Can you bring out the Dave Baker magnifying glass?
All right, listen, I don't even know if it's legal to be reading that kind of manifesto on air, but the gist of it was he was like talking about how the industrial world was going to be the ruination of us, you know? But he, like, this is where I think he went kind of wrong when he was like justifying that, like justifying killing people because of all that. And it was like, you know, I don't know, that like I can see the point of technology, and it's got us on a bit of a knife edge if we go too far, where we might end up out of control. I don't say that lightly, but we're building autonomous weapons, we're building chips for people's brains. We've got to be really kind of smart about this. Smart, there's that word again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, a lot of his concerns were very, very warranted. But then again, he became a poster boy for these lunatics that want to blow places up. And
Exactly.
again, that's why it's really dodgy talking about it, because I don't want to sound like I'm like
That's my
a fan.
point.
Bold.
That's my
but I
point.
agree with points, you know?
Here's my point
Yeah.
about that. Listen, the FBI, they kicked in this dude's door. They arrested him. They threw him in prison. And then they got a big stack of papers and they go, hey, look, here's his manifesto. They shake it. Get a document cam on this. Okay? Then what they do is they insert all the things that have to do with violence and wanting violence into his manifesto. And then they present the manifesto as the one manifesto written by this potential patsy. Because if you look back at every single person that's been convicted of these crimes and these...
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, I must say, you probably need to watch his documentary, because it's one of the few interviews where he's been taped. He doesn't sound like he's a patsy, I must admit. He quite proudly, like, wears what he done with pride, because you got to look at the court case as well, right? Because he was, like, absolutely disgusted at the fact that his lawyers were going to try and use insanity to get him off the death penalty.
Right.
Because he felt being declared insane would take away
From his
like
intellect.
exactly, dude. Like, he didn't want that. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Well,
but
I'd like to throw out a disclaimer.
And I'm not saying that these Manchurian candidates, they're absolutely out there. I think he's like half and half, because I think what happened to him at Harvard must have affected him, right? But I do think at the same time, the way it affected him, he didn't need much pushing in that direction. He kind of went loopy, you know?
yeah.
Well, I wanted to throw a disclaimer out there because, you know, it is unfortunate that there are some people that have chemical imbalances which may cause them to speculate that, you know, Jimmy's talking to me. That message was absolutely for me, or the White Album is talking to me, or my neighbor's dog is talking to me. But I just
My
want to say
neighbor's dog does talk to me. Should I be worried?
well, I can't admit what talks to me, and I don't know if it's one of the 12 personalities in me checking in on the feasibility of the direction of the latest proposal, each separate entity. Anyway, so whatever we're saying, you know, we're saying it from our heart and from positivity, I'd like to believe. So please don't harm anybody.
No.
Our words are not implying that anybody get harm
I'm
whatsoever. We want positivity.
I'm trying to take the violent part out of his manifesto.
Yeah,
What
when
I'm
you just
trying-
take the points he was making.
That's what I
Like,
want to talk
yes.
about, because
For me, it's profound. It's like we were talking about viewing the future. He
He
nailed
was
it.
right on. Yes,
Yeah.
right on
So-
target.
so this is what I'm saying to you. Let's just say he gets caught up in something. They throw him in jail. They say, look, dude, you better admit to this on camera. All right? And then we're going to make your life easy. We're going to put you over here in this prison. You know, it'll be all good. You can have sausage and eggs every morning or whatever. I'm just saying, because we've looked at these prisoners, like, for example, Manson. You know, Manson in court, Manson in the trials, Manson at parole hearings. How do I know Manson was in prison at all? I mean, if you go so far as to think that that stuff is completely fake, like crisis actors, then why isn't it possible to just wipe the swastika off the top of Manson's forehead, and he goes out the back door, jumps in his Jag, and goes and has dinner in San Francisco, on Nob Hill? Because there's no way to know where these people are. How do we know that the whole thing's not staged? They just run these rag dolls up in front of us to make us think they're actually convicting people. You know what I mean? It's literally, if you can go down the crisis actor road and be completely on that tip and think everything's fake, then there's no reason that this couldn't be possible either.
Nobody's
And
mentioned
to validate
crisis actors, dude. How did we get the crisis actors, man?
Because it's a fake setup, just like
But
this.
not everything's fake, Jimmy.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just saying, if people go down that road, then anything's possible. Any storyline is possible, like this. He didn't say any of that stuff. He only said the metaphysical stuff and the technology stuff. The rest of that was put in there to convict this dude, to get him off the market.
It's stepping back and looking at the full spectrum of it. So if we say the information itself is right in the center of it, we could probably agree that a lot of information is disinformation. A lot of information is for the betterment of society. But will the powers that should not be manipulate both sides? Yes, but it's up to us to discern if, maybe 100% of everything out there is not a conspiracy, but maybe 63% of it is.
Just a tip.
Just a tip.
Always just a tip, man. Never beyond 15%.
At least 33.3, minimally.
True. I'm now wondering if you two are crisis actors just here to kind of prop me up. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, how many of you, all you people out there listening as well, I'm thinking, it's all been a giant. I'm in the Truman Show, man.
Well, taking it with a grain of salt would always be my humble suggestion. And
yeah,
when something resonates with you, because you're the only you there is, and if it resonates with you, then if it's going to help you be positive, then resonate. And sometimes when we get emotional about any particular topic or what they call buzzwords nowadays, we should step back and see how invested are we in that buzzword that it pushes us to a state of emotion.
That's what it's all about, emotion and excretion of
the hokey pokey.
Yeah, well,
is what it's all about.
Yes, it is all about that. 100%. But it's the same thing with, I brought up Manson. I just want to bring this up because I never was really into Manson or any of this stuff. But what got me onto it was I was doing a show one night, and it was like the 10 funniest things Manson ever said. So it was like some news agency doing a thing about these crazy things that he said, and it was supposed to be funny. You're supposed to laugh at it, how crazy he was. And it was interesting because when I listened to the things that he was saying, they didn't sound all that crazy to me. And that was what keyed me into him at that point, and that's when I started to look at some of the things he was saying. And a lot of people think Manson got put in prison because he killed somebody, but he didn't technically kill any of those people. He was put in prison for mind control. So
yeah, I would
go ahead.
I'd absolutely agree with it. And as you speculated earlier, that if people are approached and given an offer, if you play this particular role, this is what we're willing to do for you. I mean, is that not what's making the world go around? That
Yes.
People are making the choice of their future for whose benefit, their own or the group or the community. And some people are just willing to do, negative things for the betterment of, depending on each individual.
Well, people think there's a difference between actors on the screen and playing a role in your life. Okay, you're playing a role, man. I mean, what position do you hold at the company? Okay, because that's the role that you play when you step into that $1,500 suit and you go down to work. You go around bossing people around and you act like a certain way because you're wearing a certain kind of clothes. You feel a certain way, and you're playing that role, man. But when you go home and you're sitting in your sweats, man, your wife's the one telling you what to do. You see what I'm saying? Each one of us plays a role. Each one of us is an actor in our own lives. Each one is writing our own scripts. And the scripts that we see that run across us and here on the media, on the internet, all these scripts, man, these are all pearls of seduction for everybody. There's something for everybody. There's a storyline for everybody, and the one that gets popular is the one they start hammering home. So once they figure out, okay, I've how to strike a nerve. When we go back to your machine earlier, the box. Once they figure out how to strike that nerve, man, striking that nerve's no problem, man. I'll make you jump 10 feet. You know what I mean? Because I can strike that nerve. Because I know exactly where to hit you to make you jump. So,
And as you said, oh, sorry, Kev.
No, on you go.
And well, as you're saying, what is being presented, whether it be social networking or on the entertainment, in the town, it was well known when he got home at night, his fat and sympathetic. Oh, I just lost the lyrics. But, that's the facade. We know that when the camera is on, we act a certain way. And again, if the powers that should not be can utilize that individual's ability to act one way or another for their benefit, they're going to take advantage of it and try to, tip or manipulate it one way or another for that outcome. And how do we make a discernment, between the three of us? We have three here, so if we think of a circle and there's three of us, we show the pyramid, and then that's when the decision is made, because two of us agree and then the third doesn't, and then the agreement is made. So then once it goes from the three, then the group gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and here we have the whole structure of the pyramid.
What?
Where there's the group on top making the decisions of manipulation, and how do we find this out?
What I'm interested in finding out is how many 21s there were, which is threes, and how many threes there were, and see if they add up to any sixes, and how many sixes there are in that moment that you found out earlier with the 21, 21, 21, 21, 21, 21. I'm interested. I'm going to look at it because it's almost time for the break, eh? Or are we even on the break?
Well, we're just going to keep going. Just keep going. Let's do it. We'll just go. Like an express train, boys. We'll just keep it going.
The crazy
sometimes
train.
when we don't hear the music here, sometimes that means we're still live. So let's just do it. We don't need that 3 minutes.
No, but I think we should go down the hot rails to the CERN hole. Because,
That's off, man. There's no point flogging a dead CERN. It's not a good game. I'll tell you what's a better one to be watching right now. Not Brookhaven, sorry. Fermi Labs.
Huh.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of work on the muon. And again, it's a big, huge particle accelerator. It's able to create gargantuan powers when it's smashing particles. It's not CERN, but at the same time, it's still able to do some pretty weird and wacky stuff. But yeah, they had a conference recently, and it was like just more of the same kind of, we're discovering new things. And what have I said about science all the time? The same way you said about light, Jimmy. We only see a thin slither. We've been talking about this week on the show. I think it was last night.
Yeah.
Earlier on. I don't think we've got the language to describe the kind of science that's truly out there. And now we're starting to kind of get a glimpse into all of that. It's part of the sci-fi age that's coming. But yeah, I don't know, man. I remember doing all the shows about CERN and the scientists and everything. They were the ones talking about opening portals to other dimensions. Now, what does that truly mean in reality? Some of the stuff that we spoke about back then, it does make you wonder. Because we often talked about what kind of effect does it have on reality when you're creating these little, for lack of a better term, little portals. And maybe all the weirdness and the wackiness is some kind of byproduct of ripping holes in this fabric of space and time. I don't know. Again, it could be another chapter in the book, right?
It is,
But the,
but
when you-
potential's there.
you know that like there's that idea of a Stargate where it's a ring, and then you step through it and go
Is
into
that one you showed me yesterday? I love it, and I wish that was real. I so wish that was real.
Yeah, but I don't
And
even.
for people out there, this was like an old newspaper article, and it showed you them pulling the Stargate out, and me
Yeah.
being a Stargate like gimp.
Yeah.
Something didn't ring true, and I found it was a poster and it had been made up. But who's to say they don't have a Stargate like that?
I know, man. You know, but
My ancestors, sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
No. When the ancestors get brought into the conversation, that's like laying down the hammer, dude. We're getting ancient.
Oh, is that like a full house? Dropping
Yeah,
a full
that's
house?
that's a trump card. That's
Or is that
like
4 aces?
you literally like take control of the talking stick at that point. It gravitates towards you, man.
Okay, well, my ancestors talk about when we build our lodges for ceremonies and rituals that our essence or our consciousness can transcend space and time. That allegedly, I mean no disrespect by sharing this. I only share it with goodness in my heart and positivity. I don't mean
something
to
bad's
upset anybody.
coming. Something bad's coming.
So only very few individuals can manifest physical form when they do these things. You know, so like you could, you know, and this is where I pondered sometimes, could this be what ghosts are? You know, so like you could go back into the past and witness what's occurring, and maybe somebody might see you in a form of like a haze or somewhat not materialized.
Can I ask, like, is it weird? Am I a weirdo for thinking, like, when I do cross to the other side, do you guys ever think, like, wonder if you get to sign up to be a ghost? Like if you, do you know what I'm saying? Can you go and choose to be like, ooh, I think I'd sign up for that. I must say, I don't know. I might get bored sitting up there on a cloud, you know, playing my harp, and I don't know, you know.
You
Well,
might
it makes me think of that movie Ghost when Patrick Swayze was trying to break the barrier. You know,
Yeah, man.
You know what it makes me think of is there used to be a show called Dead Like Me, and
yes,
and it was it was these
Brilliant.
it was these people that would help people in the moment after their death, and it was like this cool group of people that would like have these smart ass.
Grim Reapers.
So,
Yeah.
so like they're like some of the people that when you get the near death experience, it's like the waiting room you go into.
Yeah.
You're like, I get it, guys. I like this.
Yeah.
Like, imagine
They
the three
would
of us
pull you
working
out.
there one day.
And they'd show up, you know, and before whatever was going to happen to whoever it was going to happen to, they'd just show up and just have these really smart, intellectual, you know, sarcastic conversations. They're just standing there, and they're just grim reapers. And this one girl, the one main character who's being trained by the other guardian angels or whatever they were, how she died was she was just walking down the street, and a piece of a satellite came down and hit a porta potty, and the toilet seat went up in the air and came down and landed on her skull, and that's how she died. And then her guardian angel grabs her right at that moment, you know, at the Grim Reaper dude. But it's really interesting though that, you know, maybe that moment, you know, there is you know, they know, just like you said earlier, you know when you're gonna go because they know what's in the future. So,
Yeah, you're sitting there like, oh, so and so is going to be here next week. You know what I mean? Awesome, man. Get it all set for them coming, and that would be a nice way to kind of like, whoa, that would take the kind of edge off the realization that you've left the spacesuit. There's Jimmy, there's Nacy, KBS is in the waiting room blaring out. You know, I'm telling you, dude, we've got it sussed, guys. We've got it sussed. We need to set this up.
hey,
We
so
do have we would call it the cereal bar at Speculation Island.
Oh
Sounds good.
man, it's like de-speculation island.
hey, so what I was gonna say earlier.
Despectorlation.
What I was going to say earlier about the CERN and and the time warp and the mechanism for stepping into that. So like what we've seen are these rings, okay, and it looks like a mirror, and you'll walk in and step into this ring. So if you look back to the first,
No, you don't step in. You don't step in.
My
It's just a jump.
precious.
Yeah, it's just a step to the left and a jump to the right.
there you go. There. And so listen, there was an episode in the original Star Trek cast where they land on a planet and they find this. There is that exact representation. So when they walk up to this device, as they step forward to it, history is going by in this window. And what happened was Bones somehow he went through and landed at a certain time period. And so Spock and Kirk found this.
I remember that one. Yes.
Yeah. And then he found
Was it like gangster time?
yeah, they had to go back. They had to first figure out how to find what time he went in, because they just jump inside this, window frame, circular, and go. And they land there in the 20s. But the reason I'm bringing all this up and painting this picture is because maybe the CERN that we see is the physical representation that we can do based on what we know, trying to achieve the same result. So like we see this big giant apparatus that they use for CERN. But let's say when we see the ancient architecture of the same technology, the apparatus is no longer there to make the same thing happen that happens when
I tell
CERN
you what, dude.
turned
I
on.
tell you. See, that's one thing. You're onto something there. I think a lot of these ancient buildings. We talked about Falconelli in the past, and
Yeah.
they're more of a there's more of a mechanical use to them. And that again, Anthony Patch, he was definitely onto something when he was looking at some of the Shiva lingas and some of the ancient temples over in Asia, that
Mhm.
part of the world.
Yeah.
And definitely a case to be made. No definitive proof, but all the telltale signs that there might have been particle acceleration going on.
So if we talk about this in the natural realm and the technological realm, and we look into like Tai Chi or meditative movement. So when you hold your body in a particular pose, you are creating a frequency that is resonating throughout your field. When you go into the next pose, you do the same thing. You generate an all new frequency. Each time you keep doing that repetitive, and you can move from one position to the next position in the whole mannerism of ritual, you are creating a energy field. What if we are able to tap into that energy field when it occurs and awaken that 10% of our brain that for whatever reason has been dumbed down by the overabundance of stimulation we've been having? And because that's proven. When you hold a position, you create an electromagnetic current going through your body. And if it's really, ring my bell, a ring is an electromagnetic frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you could resonate within yourself and transcend space and time?
You can. And
You're talking about rings, and over in the Discord server, somebody had just posted Schmiegel. My precious. Yeah.
well,
You
let
couldn't
me
make
just
it up, man.
let me just say this then. That brilliant assessment that you just made there, Naysay, ties specifically into the work of a particular person by the name of Gurdjieff. And what Gurdjieff put forward was something called the fourth way. And this is mathematical, geometric dance moves completed in succession, and the dancers moving in these movements in these specific ways at specific moments while chanting tones at specific frequencies can bend space-time. And if you wanted to get something about like what I'm talking about, Kev, the whirling dervishes are something that we could definitely get into on a Freaky Friday.
A whirling dervish. What? Where? This sounds good, man.
Yeah, man. I mean,
up in the mountains.
yeah. So I don't have anything on hand because we're just doing this organic style. But What do
This
you
is the best way, dude. This is the best way.
What do you think, Naysay, the whirling dervish? Now, this ties in exactly with what Richard Allen Miller talks a lot about, which is the cavitation point, which is when
One of the
I was going to say when the pebble drops into the water, ladies and gentlemen, there's a moment when the pebble drops, when it hits the water and the water's coming up. There's a moment that happens there that's called the cavitation point. And
That's why I think these Tic Tac videos, the UFOs are taking advantage of cavitation. It's almost like a plasma bubble around them
Yeah,
that they can
I agree.
slip
That
into. And
same thing as Naysay's
Yep.
bubble earlier when he was traveling through time. Naysay had that same bubble that you're talking
Yep.
about right there, the same bubble. Go ahead, Naysay. What do you know about the whirling dervishes? And then I'll grab something for Kev.
Well, one of the dances that they do is they spin around, and when they spin around, the pantaloons that they're wearing will literally look like the classical saucer UFO. And one of these dances represent the shape. I can't remember what it's called. They call it a specific shape. The dance represents when at one point this shape came out of the sky and came down to the ground. And they do this dance to where their pants create this saucer type, and then they're spinning as they do this dance, and then they like lower themselves to the ground. And yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. And it's like a whole, part of a religion. It's like ritual and ceremonies.
It's the Sufi religion, right? So I just sent you over a defining explanation, Kev, of the whirling dervishes. Yeah, that's killer,
a
man.
whirling dervish. Okay, wait till I get this up here.
Yeah, gnome saying. Kev just dropped a gnome in the Chotsky over here.
I'll have you know that's my trainee wizard
Oh, nice.
outfit. You don't call, what I'm saying? You not call what I'm telling you, a gnome. That's sizes. Do you see how he went from a size, folks? That's terrible, isn't it? So a whirling dervish. Here we go. Sufi whirling. It says it's semazen, borrowed from the Persian samazan, sama meaning listening from Arabic, and zan meaning doer in Persian. And is a form of physically active meditation which originated among certain Sufi groups and which is still practiced by the Sufi dervishes of the Mevlevi order and other orders such as the Rifa-e-Marufi. Now, it is a customary meditation practice performed within the Sema or Sema or worship ceremony through which dervishes, which are also called Semazins from Persian, aim to reach the source of all perfection or karma. This is sought through the abandoning of one's nafs, ego, or personal desires by listening to the music, focusing on God, and spinning one's body in repetitive cycles, which has been seen as a symbolic imitation of the planets of the solar system orbiting the sun, as above, so below. See, the Mevlevi practice gave rise to an Egyptian form, tanura, distinguished by the use of a multicolored skirt. This is also developed into a performance dance by non-Sufis, including dancers outside the Islamic world. And it comes from the 12th century. Sufi fraternites or fraternites were first organized as an established leadership in which a member followed a prescribed discipline in service to a sheikh or master in order to establish rapport with him. A member of such a fraternity is referred to as a Persian darwish. Now, these turuk, plural of tariqa, were responsible for organizing an Islamic expression of religious life, often founded by independent saints or resulted from the division of existing orders. Everything that comes in orders is super mysterious and cool, if you ask me. Each Sufi tariqa stems from a unique silsila, or a chain of order, in which a member must learn as the silsila binds each member to Allah through one's chain of order. One's silsila extends through the member's individual teacher to their teacher and so on, through time until one is connected to the Prophet and thus Allah. The Prophet himself, peace be upon him, revered as the originator of Sufism, which has in turn been traced down through a series of saints. That's pretty interesting, guys. Anything to add in here?
Well, all I can say is...
Hang on. We're getting into camels here. Many camels. In the symbolism of the Sema ritual, the Semazen's camel hair hat represents the tombstone of the ego. His wide white skirt, or called a tenure, represents the ego's shroud. And by removing his black cloak, or harka, not burqa, but harka, he is spiritually reborn to the truth. Now, at the beginning of the Sema, by holding his arms crosswise, the Semazen appears to represent the number one, thus testifying to God's unity. Now, while whirling, his arms are open, and his right arm is directed to the sky, ready to receive God's beneficence. Now, his left hand, upon which his eyes are fastened, is turned toward the earth. The Semazen conveys God's spiritual gift to those who are witnessing the Sema. Revolving to the right or from right to left around the heart, the Semazen embraces all humanity with love. The human being has been created with love in order to love. And Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi says, quote, all love are a bridge to divine love, yet those who have not had a taste of it do not know. Now that there is pretty powerful stuff, ladies and gentlemen, if you ask me. Pretty damn powerful stuff.
It is. I mean, it's the Whirling Dervish has a place on Freaky Friday for sure.
They've got a place at my table, that's for sure.
So since we're talking about this, and I sent you another piece over there on the Mevlevi order, in and of itself, like by itself. And it's funny because when I was looking at the wording there, I immediately picked out Levi out of it, and so that's the Levites are somebody that are very influential. But what I was going to bring up is, and I haven't found a piece that we could just read about this. So what I'm going to do is I'll just relate it to you and see what you guys think about this now, because Manly P. Hall did a piece. And he was talking about a bunch of different parts of a bunch of different religions, but one of the things he was talking about was this magic carpet myth. Now, we've all heard about these magic carpets where guys are, on the magic carpet and they're flying around in the sky, this type of thing. But what he was saying was that, and he was equating this magic carpet idea, however it got taken and put into that spectrum, but that the actual thing that the magic carpet was the prayer rug that people use when they're going to do their devotion, in their Islam. So and so the idea that he put forward was that wherever a person, when it's time to pray, whenever a person takes and rolls out that prayer rug, that little square of rug is the rug of the temple, and they're in the temple, and they can literally project themselves through time and space via that particular piece of
the meteorite that's in the stone. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Mecca. That's the one, right?
The Kaaba stone.
Yeah, the Kaaba stone in Mecca.
The black cube.
Yeah.
And what do they do there? They mirror as above, so below, right? Because they make the rings,
the spiral
pattern.
Mm-hmm. So here I did find something.
But 2 seconds. Nisi, I heard you talking about this the other night, and You had mentioned, I think it was in Discord. I think we spoke about this before, but you had mentioned a story about your neighbours and your Muslim neighbours. And do you mind sharing that again? And like, so I'm not putting you on the spot. Before I kind of turn towards Christianity, and I don't put label on myself. I just have my own thing going on. But I strongly looked at like the Muslim, the Islamic faith. I must admit. So your little story on it, you know.
Well, I have always, when I was younger, I was raised Lutheran, and I lost interest in it because I found a lot of hypocritical behavior that brought a disdain that I didn't want to be part of it, you know. But I always had some concept of a higher power or an entity. What it was, I didn't know. So in that quest, when I got sick with my Gulf War illness, you know, that's when you really start looking at religion and practical God or whatever you wish to label it. And as you know, as time progressed, I just got very connected where it resonated with me following the ways of my ancestors. But I'm still interested in all the other rituals and ceremonies around the world. And so I had neighbors that were Muslim, and I asked of them, you know, hey, do you have a Quran that I can read? Because this was around 2001, and we all know what happened. And they're talking about going to war, and then they're talking about radicalism, and and they're saying that this religion is all about killing people. And so I wanted to know, and so I asked them if I could have a Quran, and they brought me a Quran. And you know, they asked me. He said, you know, I ask of you that you abstain from alcohol for at least 24 hours before you read this holy scripture of the Prophet Muhammad. And I said, that's okay with me because I haven't drank in over 30 years. You know, so I'm reading through this book and I'm not finding this hatrism that seemingly more people than not are perpetrating, you know, and it's basically talking about you defend yourself. You defend yourself if you're being attacked. And it talks about respecting other people. There's time when you look out historically, like Istanbul, Constantinople, there was hundreds of different rituals and religions or sects or whatever you want to call it. Even back when what's his name took over the Asia, the in Tibet. Oh, I'm for Gandhi. No, not Gandhi. The Tibetan ruler back in the day. Well, anyway, throughout history, you find all these incredible, huge cities that had all of these different religions and spiritualities together collectively, and they lived in harmony. But then all of a sudden, when there are these individuals that are pushing and pulling from one way or another to manipulate the narrative, you know, and that's unfortunately what happens. We get manipulated into these beliefs, and if we hear it enough, you know, if you get repeated a lie enough times, at what point will you believe it? You know, so
No, you're
it's
right.
interesting.
I mean, I think no, sorry, but just to add into what you're saying, no, I think it's important to look at all of these ancient kind of books, manuscripts, tablets, because I think they all contain pieces of the same story, and they were scattered, as we know, and they're used to divide us. And sure, there's crazy people that take advantage of like interpretation of some. I'm not saying that I'm not giving them a pass either. Same as I didn't give Ted Kaczynski a pass. But what I'm saying is, you know, you have to really examine it because it's very interesting when you start to look at the different versions of the different belief systems that are out there and the control that can be gained through having these different belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that all comes down to power, divide and conquer. And I'm telling you, it's part of the game, right? It's part of the system, man.
Well, the minute that they can get you to accept the label, whether it be a citizen, they've kind of already put you in a box, whether it be your state of Minnesota or they're in Scotland or out in California, you've already been categorized, and the powers that should not be know that in Kevin's life over there in Scotland, he's going to consume this much and he's this much of a profit for us in his consumption. And the same with Naysay, because he's really tied into the system because I feed the same meat grinder being part of the VA system. And then there's Jimmy out in California, and so the cycles are there. The cycles of the psychos are there. It's just up to us to decide which one we're going to continue on.
No, I'm laughing. I'm just winding Jimmy up here in the background. I sent him that Photoshop I done of him. Remember the Q shaman? Freedom!
It's
That
just
lunatic with the big hat on and that.
the thing of
Jimmy thinks a wicked Q shaman.
Dude, the thing I hate about it is the big oafish gut with the pubic hair growing all the way up, and then it's like this fat gut hanging over his belt, and
Funniest bit of that story was though the big freedom, and then he started crying for his vegan food. Sorry, man.
I know. Look at that gut hanging over the
That's Dunlap disease.
What's that?
When your
spare
gut
tire.
when your gut Dunlap over your belt.
Yeah, spare
called
tire made
Dunlap
by Dunlop.
disease.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. I like that.
So hey, we're almost on the bottom of the hour. Is there a break or no? Or are we just going full hot?
I don't think so. Let me take this opportunity to remind all you great people out there. And I'm very, very inclusive, me, because I say ladies, gentlemen, time travelers, lurkers, aliens,
Box of
organic robotoids, crisis actors, time travelers, you name it.
Box of gay
You name it.
frogs.
Yes, remember, after this next half hour of radio, you don't need to go anywhere because it just keeps on rolling on and on. That's how we roll here at tfrlive.com, because Brent Thomas, good friend, and Nacy, we're going to have to get together with Brent. We're going to organise a 5-hour woo-a-thon. Me and Brent can't wait until August. So there's going to be 5 hours of crazy, crazy high strangeness coming your way soon. And I love listening to Brent late at night. He is the perfect way to wind down. I love his style. I love the presentation. And of course, he delivers the woo. And he's the guy that owns the Paranormal Portal. So I'm telling you right now, just stay where you are and he'll take you through it in half an hour's time.
And I dearly, too, love Mr. Thomas because I said that when I first started joining you in our ritual of Freaky Friday, Kev, that I felt a little...
Is this our ceremony? Is this like our ceremony that we
This is
do
our
every
ritual,
week, man?
brother.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Ceremony
Yeah,
sounds
I'm-
better. Ritual sounds nefarious. It sounds
Ritual.
never good, you know?
Yeah.
Well, if it can help us create a delight in the darkness...
Oh, no,
I'm
no.
all for
Hang
it.
on now, boys. Hang on, boys. Good night, Anne. Good night.
Good night, sweetheart.
I would have been wearing a very physical shoe. A very physical shoe would have hit me in the back of the head right about now if I hadn't said good night there. Sorry, boys.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Anne. Miigwitch.
I
Miigwitch
reckon
and-
Anne probably thanks you guys because anytime I'm on air, she doesn't have to put up with me, you see?
There you go.
You see how that works?
Anytime, Anne, you need us, let us know.
See how
Think of her, though. She
distract
puts up with Kev and Dave.
See how it's like a
It
win.
can't be easy.
It's a win-win. You know, the hidden benefits of the Kev Baker Show.
Or is she your handler?
Oh, I've wondered that myself sometimes. I was actually, I've wondered if Anne was planted. Is she like the agent? Is that what's going on here, boys? Is that what's happening?
At least,
Well, I don't know,
at
but
least a few times, I hope she's your handler.
well, what
Oh,
I
absolutely.
well what
As long as she's not anyone else's handler.
what I'm wondering, yeah, there you go. What I'm wondering though is, are you quick as George Bush was when he avoided that shoe? Remember when he went over to Iraq and there was some dude in the audience who threw the shoe? I was so.
That was classic,
Oh,
wasn't it?
that was funny, man. That was
Yeah.
just that. Yeah, that was just gold.
That's a classic moment.
And
in
he
world
is quick. He was
history.
quick too, right? I bet
Was
you.
it a red
He's
shoe?
one of those, man.
Yeah, you could just see him back on the plane later sipping a beer. He goes, "You see the way I dug right out of that chair,
Fool
man."
me once. Fool me once, Jimmy.
We got a saying back there. You can fool me once, you just don't. Well,
You don't hear much
yeah,
of him anymore, though, guys, right?
No, he
You
went.
don't know.
No, he
No?
went. Yeah, he went quiet.
oh,
Well,
he's
let's
on the
face it, I mean,
island.
he was always a bit crazy, right? He's probably out in his ranch riding horses, you know.
What
He's
a
on his
character! Was he any different than any other character? He was just like this. He showed up.
He was pretty
He's like
much like his dad's like stooge, right?
He was like the most unlikely president ever. I mean, they had so much stuff on that guy.
Come on, there
like-
was like I'm gonna dig some up, but he had like some of the most
The-
classic like Bushisms. There were like the
The
things he came
unofficial-
out with were brilliant.
We're gonna smoke them out of their holes. If you ain't with us, you're Guinness. Those are a couple of them. I remember. Those are their golden oldies. Or
There's a book out.
he goes, "I'm a war president. When I go to sleep, I
Yeah,
got
here we go,
war
hang
on my
I've
mind.
got some boys there.
I got
yeah,
war on my
yeah.
mind."
Yeah, listen to this. This will be quite funny. The best of the Bushisms.
Oh man, it's too much.
They came out with a calendar.
American Morning, the most news in the morning.
Good
period.
morning.
Weekdays 6 Eastern.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. It was not always a given that the United States and America would have a close relationship. These are big achievements for this country, and the people of Bulgaria ought to be proud of the achievements that they have achieved. A fine host for the OPEC summit. I appreciate APEC summit, you know. God bless America. Thank you, Rolling. That's awesome speech. The fact that they purchased the machine meant somebody had to make the machine. And so when somebody makes a machine, it means there's jobs at the machine-making place. I remember meeting a mother of a child who was abducted by the North Koreans right here in the Oval Office. These immigrants have helped transform 13 small colonies into a great and growing nation of more than 300 people. People in Louisiana must know that all across our country there's a lot of prayer. Prayer for those whose lives have been turned upside down. And I'm one of them. Again, I want to thank you all for, and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
Oh,
The FEMA
Jesus.
workers work 24 hours. I said on Friday, this thaw, it took a while to thaw. It's going to take a while to unthaw. We got an issue in America. Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country. The new Prime Minister of India is, no. I oppose breaching those dams. I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully. Which is the toughest job in America as far as I'm concerned. And you're working hard to put food on your family.
Can't get out the door.
Teach a child to read, and he or her will be able to pass a literacy test.
I can't take any more, but I tell you what, the way. Simpler times, guys. Simpler times.
Junior.
Yeah,
Junior.
that
Junior,
is.
I'm gonna have you be president. But Dad, can't you have Jeb do it? I just want to do some coke.
Yeah,
Crazy
I mean,
family,
and it
the
was
way.
funny that dude, I think Dan Rather, went down the tubes when he was trying to expose all that was going on with him and his military sign up and his disappearance and his coke and all these documents that got shredded. And I think Dan Rather went silent forever.
There's a
He
book
got
out
smart,
there.
man, with them. Go ahead.
There's a book out there called The Unauthorized Biography of the Bush Family. And it's really good on, explaining exactly where they all came from, all the way back, where you find the ties that they have with them. And then if you look historically, when Bush was the governor of Texas, and you would watch some of those speeches that he gave in Texas, he was spot on. He had he was a really good
That's the weird
speech
thing.
giver.
That's the weird thing, right? It was like overnight he turned from being really, really articulate. He was good, like you say, he was good
Yeah.
at delivering a great orator. And all of a sudden you get that, what we just heard there. That's
It
weird.
probably was right after they showed him that third angle of the JFK assassination.
I honestly think, to be, I don't, but I think he realized he was just a stooge for his old man as well,
Well,
Don't
his
give up
buddy,
there any impressions that he had any of the power going on there.
the big dick, was in the White House at that time. Cheney.
Yeah. He's like a proper bottom feeder of the swamp, as they now call, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Kissinger's down there, kind of all that way as well. Kissinger. Yeah.
At some point, they're eating at the table of that really negative entity, whatever it may be called. But at some point, you got, they're going to give you the bill at some point. Excuse me. No matter what you scribe to or what you believe in, we write a check, or we write a bill, or we create a bill through our lives. Maybe, maybe not. I'm the stupidest man I know, but I love to speculate about it. And again, Kev Baker, thank you so much for this opportunity. Freaky Friday.
Oh, listen, this isn't like Kev Baker's Freaky Friday. This is like the Three Amigos, whoever's on Freaky Friday. But a listener, Luna, from down under, says, where was it? Why do we keep letting politicians entertain us with their BS? And I wish I had an answer to that. And we were talking about that last night over in Discord, and I was saying how over here, like, as soon as you get elected, say it was Boris or something, they say, I mean, they call it ceremonial and stuff like that, but you still have to go and ask permission to, like, form a government of Her Majesty's approval, And it's like the system, right? It's the system. How do you change the system? I mean, I know it's broken. I know these people are corrupt, but how on earth's name, without going full Ted Kaczynski style, damn, they're going to use this I'm telling you, they're going to use this to put me away.
It's manifesto.
Scotland, man.
The Freaky Friday manifesto.
Do you know what I'm saying, though, Nacy? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I wish we had that way of, like, just going for alternative B, whatever it is, and I don't even know what that looks like. All I know is it doesn't have all this corruption, People have got enough of everything they need. There's no like putting all of our money and brain power into all the more advanced ways of taking each other out. I mean, that's crazy, right?
Well, this is my ego, because I rolled for mayor of my city 3 different times.
No, but dude, that's like proper. You should, like, I give you total respect for that, because I'm just sitting here behind a keyboard doing nothing. You know what I mean? We talk about this all the time. You've literally gone out there and tried to make a change. And people who do that, they should get respect, as hard as it is. And one person can't change that system, but at least you tried. You know what I mean?
Well, I keep putting it out there. I'm right on the prefaces of getting land on the reservation. And so if anybody wants to come join me, we'll have the Speculation Cannabis Farm. Yes. Speculation Island Cannabis Farm. And you guys can help me grow cannabis, and we'll ponder how do we be part of the causation for a positive change? Because I guess we can agree that the powers that should not be aren't doing...
Well, how are the people on the reservation? How am I for like immigration there? There's no walls or anything like that, going on around the res, is there?
Oh, no, absolutely. And technically...
I'd have to cross a river to get in or something crazy like that, no?
Well, I would create that portal for you to just step through into my lodge.
I'm there, dude.
Oh, yeah, brother.
I see if we had, like, Star Trek, like, beam me up, I'd be there right now, man. For sure.
I'd adopt you. I'd adopt you.
What would that be, man?
Well, I'd do a ceremony, and we'd have somebody participate in the ceremony, and I can adopt you as my brother. And then by technical terms, you are part of the reservation because you're my brother.
I like it, dude. I like it.
You and Ann and Junior are welcome. Bring your 3 camels and your 40 horses.
Only camels. I've told you before, man. I only deal in camels.
They have to be 2 humps then.
Oh, yeah, okay. I can go that far. I can go that far. This has been a weird and wacky, freaky Friday, hasn't it?
This has been a spiral. We've gone this way and that way, and little left, little right, nudge into right
been
here.
good. It's been good.
Are you
There he
still
is.
with us, Jimmy, or
yeah, the
did the
wizard's
wizard
back.
disappeared?
The wizard is now back. Well, Nacy, let
He
me
had to
take
go
this
stir the
opportunity, right?
cauldron.
Nacy, come on, man. You were
Sorry.
no. But I need to get. I'd almost forgotten. What's your take on all the UFO woo, dude? That's going on. Come on, man.
The full spectrum of it. Is it for a positive thing? Is it for a negative thing? As your favorite clip has denoted in the past, when they talk
Last
about
card. The last.
the progression of the weaponization of fear. How much greater can a fear be if it's like War of the Worlds or or the alien threat. So I do believe that a percentage of these UFOs are ours. Like we were saying, that the powers that should not be will manipulate the course or the narrative. And if they can utilize our engineered UFO crafts, if you look at the history of UAVs, they were in the 90s, so yeah. But my ancestors, we talk about extraterrestrials. We talk about them as our relatives from beyond the earth. So, are there good ones? Are there bad ones? There's good humans, there's bad humans. And we as humans, all of the other animals and particulates on the earth, we dissected them and did things to them, torturous means. So who's to say that a advanced technology of extraterrestrials came and did the same to us? Why would they be in the wrong?
I like it, dude. I like it. Man corn. There must be one out there that goes for the man corn, Jim.
There's, man corn, man stew. You just throw.
You need to get a T-shirt with that on it, man. Man corn.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to do a Photoshop of your head on like a big cob with a
piece
like a
of
corn
corn.
of the cob, man.
We'll just make sure it's nice and buttery and salty.
I'll have your arms like you're running along, literal man corn, and then we'll have something like the Kandahar giant coming after you or something,
Hey, man.
I would like you to create a little mummy with Jimmy's head on it, laying inside of a sarcophagus.
Well, that sounds pretty creepy, man. That sounds like a picture of some voodoo type stuff going on.
That is.
And the top of the T-shirt would say Freaky Friday, and then on the bottom it would say sarcophagus.
That's like that. Why am I thinking of a strange story that came up the other day of a shrunken head?
Well, all
There's
I
a story
know.
about a shrunken head, and it turned out it was meant to be like ornamental, but when they tested it, it was literally a shrunken head.
That's what I mean. Shrunken heads are subject unto themselves. But, when those giants come through those portholes and they're all jumbo, they grab themselves some man corn.
Well, listen to this, right? Let me throw this at you, because Ken and me, he was listening earlier on. I don't know if he's still over there. I'm seeing him tuning in. And I'm not sure if he's listening now, but he came on the show a few months ago. I tell you what, he made a pretty compelling case, and he made me think about, if you go by the whole Bible thing, right, and the whole flood, there's a case to be made, and he done it pretty well, that if you claim that the Nephilim and the giants like made it past the flood, you're pretty much kind of saying that God's plan failed. And then he went through some of the given evidence that people use from the Bible about there being giants. And then what he done was he took it back to like the original Hebrew, which I thought was really kind of interesting.
Interesting.
And it, like just we were saying earlier on, you got to look at everything from all angles, right? We talk about the Kandahar giant and the giants all the time.
Hmm.
It was just interesting to look at it from the other side, you know?
Well, let me pour gasoline on that fire. Okay, because in the first place, if there was a flood in the first place, God already failed, didn't he? Because he had to destroy what he created because it wasn't how he wanted it to turn out. So he supposedly made a flood come down here and destroyed it. So then, didn't God
He
fail
made a
then?
judgment call.
God failed then, didn't he? So
The flood update.
can gods fail?
I would say so.
Well,
If we're made in their image, we'd do a good job at it, you know? It's
there
an
you go.
interesting thought, dude, and that's what we do here. We think. We go all round all topics,
Hey.
upside down, inside out. It's
Hey.
got to be done.
Hey, dude, listen. If you can't ask questions, it's not science.
Yeah, and
Right?
listen. Just while we were on this really weird topic here, I'll get your take on this, Jimmy. But I found the actual story I was thinking about. I do this all the time. I bring something up and then I think to myself, right, I need to show it now because if this was me watching this or listening to this, I was like, prove it. So, Ecuadorian shrunken head used in the 1979 movie Wise Blood was real, experts say. So, a Sansa or shrunken head was brought into the US in the 1940s and has been repatriated. So, a shrunken head from Ecuador that was brought to the United States in 1940 and in 1979 loaned as a prop to the film Wise Blood has been authenticated and sent back to the country of origin. In 1942, James Austell Harrison, a faculty member at Mercer University in Atlanta, Georgia, now deceased, acquired the object known as is that a Sansa? Is that how you'd say that? Probably. TSA during his travels in Ecuador. What on earth's name were they doing in Ecuador that they were shrinking people's heads in the first place, guys?
Well, there's all kinds of stuff going on in Ecuador. Wise Blood is a 1979 black comedy drama film directed by John Huston. And it's based on a 1982 novel, Wise Blood, by Flannery O'Connor. Hey, he sounds like he might be from your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know what I'm gonna do? Because I'm gonna be on tonight at 10:30 Pacific on Aftermath.fm. I'm gonna take a look at this movie, Wise Blood.
I tell you what, there's like one of the pictures. It's got it split into 4 different like X-rays and things. But that looks like Homer Simpson's.
He does. He does.
It's got a big. That's elongated, is it not?
Yeah, it looks elongated to me too. Cone
Yeah,
heads.
I suppose maybe it's like when you shrink a skull. It's what happens. Who knows?
Cone heads show up again, man.
The cone heads keep on coming up, Jim.
They do, and that's why I think it's funny that Saturday Night Live just picked them out of nowhere. Cone heads, you know. It was funny. Everybody was laughing. You know, we must consume mass quantities. They drank beer and ate potato chips all day. That's what they did, because they weren't of Earth or whatever. But I just think it's funny. I mean, even Avril Byrd had an elongated skull if you go look at it on the Long Jeans report when he was talking about flying into the center Earth. Go ahead, Naysay.
The Mountains of Madness with Admiral Byrd, Cthulhu, all hail Cthulhu. But the cone heads and the shrunken head, what if the best explanation for the head is that it's shrunken instead of saying that it really is a head of a little person, like we talk about the hobbits.
I like it, the Anukin.
Yes, and this is just one of the last artifacts of those little people.
Well, you know what?
Like it, man.
You know, like I always say, there's nothing wrong with a little head.
Well, you have to accept what you have there, Jimmy.
Well, I wasn't talking about myself. I'm just saying in general. And I'm talking about the shrunken variety there. Naysay, you took it to the gutter, but if you want to go to the gutter, don't worry. Old Jimmy's no stranger to the gutter.
I'm sorry, I made a poor assumption of what you were denoting there.
Yeah, no, my head isn't shrunken, but I mean, it could be, I guess. Wouldn't that be cool if I had like a shrunken head and my body was normal
It
size?
would look like, remember the film Beetlejuice?
Yeah, exactly.
Right in the end.
Yeah, it's like the shrunken head syndrome going on.
No, but shrunken. Shrunken heads is actually a really cool topic for Freaky Friday. Sometime if you go look at them and go look at why how they shrunk them, and that's why people were originally afraid of the natives. They made them afraid of natives because they said all these natives over in the jungles, they were grabbing white settlers and throwing them in big black pots and shrinking their heads and eating their flesh like man corn, just like we were talking about a second ago.
That's what they were saying to the slaves. You know, if you run away, the indigenous populace will eat you.
Exactly. That's what
And
they said at Jonestown, and everybody said, "Hey, man, pass me that Kool-Aid, boss." Don't go out the jungle, man. They're out there. They're gonna shrink your head, and they're gonna eat you like man corn. They're gonna come out like they're jumbo, and they're gonna eat you like gumbo. The giants with red hair flashing out of that porthole. Speaking of portholes, coming up next, paranormal portal. With
It is, and I've just messaged Brent Thomas. He is in the green room. Yes, he is actually. See if you remember back to Stargate 1 or Stargate SG 1. Sorry, he'd go up the ramp towards the Stargate. Brent is getting ready. He's getting all his kit and caboodle. He's at the bottom of the ramp. He's ready to fire it up, and in about 9 minutes' time, it will go live. All the water will appear, and you will be invited to go through to another world, the world beyond the paranormal portal. Oh, I tell you, it's been a good night tonight, guys. Very good night, and I'm going to shamelessly plug a stream that I'm going to be on Sunday night. This has got the potential to be, well, if you're into your woo, this might take it to a new level, because we're going to team up Lon Strickler of Phantoms and Monsters and his good friend Stan Gordon. And between them, they've got nearly 100 years of research into the paranormal. Exactly, Jimmy. Stan on the right-hand side there, he's been looking into these kind of things since the Kecksburg UFO incident back in the 60s, I think. And he was actually from that area, Pennsylvania, I believe. Lon, he's from a similar area. Jimmy's about to get SWAT teams. Look, it's because we were talking about the Unabomber, man.
No.
Hang on a minute. You look a bit like him, dude. If you had a grey hoodie on and those shades,
well, hey, listen. Can I talk about? Can I plug my show for tonight? Because we're doing a special.
No, not at all, man. On you go.
We're doing a special tonight.
Well, I hadn't even finished plugging mine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
You see. I almost forgot. Well, Sunday night, folks. We're gonna have those two guys together. Over nearly 100 years of research into the woo. There'll be me. There'll be Derek. There'll be Travis. Great show with Travis last night. He is an absolute blast. And of course, there'll be Bill Bean. And hopefully all of you. And that'll be over on Bill's YouTube channel on Sunday. The link's up. Go check it out. Jimmy, I apologize for having to take it back for a moment.
No. I thought you were done.
Hey, can I plug my show?
I'll just say
after Jimmy.
I just want to say that you know in Pulp Fiction where the dude goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?" That siren going by broke my concentration, and I thought you were done. So I'm sorry about that. But what I was going to say is tonight we're doing a special on Willy Wonka, the original Willy Wonka movie, and the story. And
I have the golden ticket.
You may not want the golden ticket after you find out what we found in this movie.
Do you get turned into chocolate and corn?
And we'll see.
And tomorrow,
a world of pure imagination.
Tomorrow, Clyde.
Corn. On you go, Jimmy.
Tomorrow, Clyde Lewis is coming on into the microcosm.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
What?
Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Clyde Lewis.
That's right. So stay tuned. So we're over there. We're over there Monday through Friday, 10:30 Pacific, right after Clyde's show, and we really appreciate the Kev Baker audience because a lot of people over there are over there. Like there's a guy in my chat room right now. His name's Chris from the UK. And he was the one running that 21 thing. So there's a lot of people in the UK that listen over at Aftermath, and the same people love the Kev Baker show. So,
do you simulcast? Do you simulcast on the Into the Microcosm?
I do, Into the Microcosm with Jimmy G and Strike Zone, and I also will be simulcasting on Revolution Radio at the same time tonight on Friday nights. We go on both stations, so we'll be on Revolution Radio also, Studio A. At 11 o'clock Pacific. So and TalkStream Live. You can just
Beautiful.
go there.
They say quickly, have you got one you want to get in?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a puppet show with my socks this weekend.
No,
sometime
no,
around
no. You don't know. No, puppet shows are bad, man. They're like puppet shows. They're evil, man. There's something sinister about grown men and puppets. Never do it.
But if you pay attention to in between the lines, it'll be the answers to all of the questions of your woes and sadness.
Oh, dearie, dearie, dearie. I don't know. Puppets creep me out.
I don't know.
Puppets are up there with like clowns and mimes.
Well, I'll just say,
Mimes are creepy fellas and all, you know?
I'll just say this, Nissa. You're a little bit too good at that voice, brother. What have you been talking to? Who you been using that voice on?
He's a trained ventriloquist. He really is.
Well, this is when I take my voice modulator off. This is actually my regular voice, but for the show, I put my modulator on.
Well, I would say switch back to regular whole milk and get rid of the soy milk, man. You got to switch back.
Well-
Switch back to the regular milk. Get off the soy milk immediately. No water in plastic bottles, and don't touch any receipts at any stores. Get away from the bisphenol A immediately, brother.
Well, Jimmy, thanks for coming on Freaky Friday. It's been a wonder.
There you go. Now you're talking. Now that sounds like the man we know, Naysay, over there doing a thundering. You're doing Naysay's doing the thundering war dance over there right now. He's war
Are we
dancing.
allowed to have this much fun during the apocalypse and the world going mad?
Why wouldn't
We
you?
got a giggle or we'd go insane.
Hey,
That's very, very true, boys. Very true.
Nero fiddled while Rome burned. So,
Oh, very good, very good. Yeah. And I
go.
tell you
Burned
what,
a
Rome is
big-
burning. Rome is burning, boys.
Burned a
Well,
big
listen,
old
um,
cannabis cigarette.
that's
We
right.
have had a great week here on Freaky Friday. It's been totally different. It's been way, way out there. And I hope you can join me next week for what is going to be a huge week on KBS. We kick it all off with Steve and Jen Hodgson, Ghost Hunters. Tuesday, we got Jack Carey from the Beyond Explained and Arcane Radio to talk about disclosure and the unified theory of woo. On Wednesday, I've got Mary DeCina for the full moon.
Dude, what's
And
with
then
that
on
whispering?
Thursday, I have got the witness to the Pentich UFO incident. We've got Kaz Clark and Gary Jones coming on the show for what is going to be a massive, massive episode. And that's going to be next Thursday, or this coming Thursday, sorry, on KBS. So I want you all there for all of that. And we're out of time, guys. We need to get going.
Then the ritual comes around Freaky Friday next Friday. Thank you.
Yes. There we go. There we go. So yes, that's us. We're still in disco.
Yeah, we're
Still
still
in
on.
disco.
We're still on YouTube too. 20 people over here.
I'm gonna get going anyway.
Yeah, me too. Gotta
that
go.
was awesome, boys. Awesome, guys. Good fun.
Yeah, that was a good show, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, you guys, for having me on. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it was good fun, dude. Good fun. Naysay, good fun, man. That was great.
Thank you. I always enjoy it. Hey,
From Dave, from
any
Dave and
opportunity, I'd love to join Mary someday.
I'll see. Yep, sounds good, man. Sounds good.
I have a beautiful night. Tell your mother we said hello, Pearl.
Will do. Right.
All
Catch
right.
you later, guys.
Hey,
Catch you
Naysay,
later.
Naysay,
Toodles.
if you're
Yes,
up,
Jimmy.
hey, if you're up, you got insomnia or whatever, just let us know that you're there and we'll bring you on. Cause we're
Oh,
gonna,
Willy Wonka.
yeah. So just let us know.
Oh.
Yeah. Just let me.
Favorite movie.
Yeah.
Favorite.
Hey,
Number one.
Thank you very much, Kevin and Naysay, for having me on Freaky Friday. I really appreciate it, man.
No
You
problem.
bet. Love you, Jimmy.
I had a
Love you,
good
Kevin. Toodles.
Catch you later, boys.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
See ya. There we go. We're out of there. So, one down, one to go. I gotta go now. Get ready. My dog's not feeling too well, so I was out there petting him. That's where I went. So, I'm gonna go out and take care of him, and then I gotta call Rio and get ready for the show tonight. So hopefully, you guys will be back later. It should be a good show, man. Looking forward to it. Yeah, Mike. Looking forward to it. All right, you guys. So, we'll go out this way, and I'll see you guys a little bit later.
When he's around, anything can happen, and usually does.
Be nice.
Help this gentleman to the door.
Until it's time to not be nice.
So says the fighting philosopher.